This is Support is Sexy, episode 330, and today we're going to talk about divine timing. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I interview inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and their lessons to help you take your business and your life to the next level and create something sexy. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm so happy to have you here. It would not be the same without you. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that within the past year, I relocated from my home in Brooklyn, New York, which I miss very much, to Atlanta, Georgia, to be closer to family, which is a fantastic thing. I'm happy that everyone is, for the most part, healthy. It was just the right time to move and to be closer to family and help out in whatever way I can. Now, this usually goes very well, but there are some days, just because life, there are some days or times when it is a bigger, or I should say a more difficult adjustment for me to be in a space where I'm not able to do all the things that I used to do at the pace that I used to do them and work the way I used to when I was by myself in New York without any kind of other responsibilities. So I guess I'm having to be a lot less selfish in that way, selfish with my time. Used to be able to manage my time. I did what I wanted to do with my time, but now there are other things and other people who need some support in other ways. We all need support, right? I certainly do. So I'm coming to terms with that and making those adjustments. Sometimes that interferes with my work. So my work being primarily right now, the podcast, some of the other things I can move around, but sometimes it affects calls and just a lot of different things. I have a lot of moving parts, and this is something I'm incorporating into these moving parts. So there might be times with the podcast, for example, if you notice it doesn't go up at a certain time that it usually goes up, or I might change things up a little bit. Actually, I'm hoping that you don't notice. I'm hoping you just are like, okay, it's a little bit different, or you just listen to it when you listen to it. Maybe you binge, so the time it goes up doesn't matter to you. Of course, with our work, we take it much more seriously, or maybe we notice all of the things we view as imperfections more than other people. So I say all that to say, sometimes it affects the work. It is what it is, and you have to move forward. And that's what I do, and that's what I'm doing, continuing to move forward. But sometimes it doesn't upset me, but it makes me uneasy because I'm getting used to it. That's the thing. I'm human, getting used to it. Sometimes it makes me uneasy because of these adjustments, and I feel like things might not be working. And I have bad days like everyone, and I have days when things might feel off. I have days when there's a long period where things feel off. I will tell you, not only the move, but transitioning my business from something that was primarily me working within a certain industry of media, so going into the office and working with people and freelancing and those kind of things, transitioning to fully focusing as of last year on being an online business. So with the podcast and all the things I do now are primarily through online media. That has been a big transition too. Going to those offices and working for the companies I used to work for as a consultant or on a freelance basis, a lot more lucrative than just starting your online business and doing it this way. So that's a big transition too. So there's been a lot of change for me in 2017. 7, they say, is a year of completion. So hopefully I was just wrapping up some things. Now we're moving on to a next phase that'll be even brighter. And today was an example of being aware of divine timing. There's a reason for everything. And this is the story. I'm going to tell you a little story, of course. So as I mentioned, there are periods when, you have that kind of feeling, right? It's just, but you keep going, you remain positive, you get support, right? That's what we're all about. Surround yourself with people who can support you in those moments and push you along, or just who are there to listen to you when you need to just talk it through. Sometimes you don't even need the advice, you just need to talk it through. So for me today, I'm hanging around my parents, watching the news. Of course, we watch the news together, hanging around them, and my dad comes in with a stack of books and binders and photo albums, all this stuff, and just drops it on the couch. When he wants you to look at something, you got to look at it right now. He drops it on the couch in front of me and, says, this is all your stuff. I don't know what he said exactly, but basically, this is all of your stuff. It was in the cabinet. Do you want to look through it? And it was an old photo album with a bunch of baby pictures, which I will be posting of me and my cute self on social media. But along with that, It was writings that I had done back to 1994. I have it all written down here. 1994. Now, I've talked about before, and I say this on my website, my mom collects, well, everything, but she has things that I've written when I was 2 and 3 years old. I literally am not kidding, always been a writer, always loved the feel of it, always loved doing it, right? So she has all of that stuff, and we have that put away, and that is all there. But to see things that I wrote in 1994, well, some of you might have been born in 1994, and if that's you, I love you for listening right now. But 1994, I was in college, and one of those books or binders or stacks that my dad dropped on my lap on the couch tonight was a binder that had songs. Songs. I love to write anything. Songs, poems, stories. These were songs that I wrote in college, 1994. This was back when Mary J. Blige was just becoming poppin'. I think that was 91, right? Anyway, my friends and I think we discovered Mary J. Blige, but I digress. But 1994, so writing songs was something that my friends and I, actually not my friends, I was really into, and my close friend Erin was very into. I have a song in there by the two of us that I'm going to send to her. But 1994, 53 songs were in this binder. Can you believe it? 53. Who writes a binder of 53 songs and who doesn't have a record deal or have someone that they were writing for? I just love to write. A binder of 53 songs. I read through them all. I don't remember writing a lot of them. I remember doing it, having that book, showing it to people. It didn't go anywhere, but my family saved it because they're fantastic. 53 songs. Then within that package, there was also, in a separate binder, a proposal from 2002. That's 15 years ago. A book proposal, I should specify. A book proposal from 2002. And it was all about being single. It's actually pretty good. Who knows? I might resurface that. But 2002 on being single, I sent it out to an agent. I remember. She's fantastic and lovely. I didn't even remember. I remember now. I didn't remember up until now that I had sent that to her back then. So for 15 years, I've been trying to work with this agent who's always very lovely to me. In fact, she most recently is the one I mentioned in a previous episode that turned down my current book proposal. But now I have another agent that I'm working with. But then she turned it down and I just would move on. I wouldn't send it to anyone else. I didn't even know how. But for me, just seeing the amount of time, I should say, that I have been writing things, like I said, I've known since I was little, but formally really putting my all into writing creative work, a book proposal from 2002. I was blown away by that. I was telling my parents, do you understand this is 15 years ago? First of all, do you understand this is 15 years ago and you still have it? But do you understand that this is 15 years ago? I've been writing book proposals since then. There are about 2 or 3 others in there, but that one from 2002 was the earliest book proposal that I wrote. And then it gets better. Then there was a manuscript for a novel that I wrote in 2009. I think I wrote it 2008, and I sent it to, you guessed it, that same agent, 2009, and she turned it down, and I started working with someone else on it, and then I just sort of abandoned it. I didn't have the follow-up. I guess, you know what? I am very sensitive about my writing. And because she was someone I trusted and admired and she didn't like it, this is not her fault. But for me, I think at that time I was feeling, okay, well, she doesn't think it's good. It must not be good. And it never went any further. So I have that sitting there, a full, complete novel, that, again, who knows, it might resurface. Now, if you're wondering why I'm telling you this and how this speaks to divine timing, as I mentioned, the most recent proposal I had sent out to the same agent who's lovely. She said she didn't think it worked for her because they're not really working in the self-help, if you will, space. My book is kind of self-helpy, but in the self-help space. But now I'm working with the wonderful agent, Nick, who's been fantastic. The feedback has been fantastic. He's been super supportive. He is super supportive, and I appreciate him, and we'll talk about him more as time goes on. But I mentioned all of that and all of these things from the past because it's interesting that it's not interesting. This is divine timing. That's where we get to this. My dad dropped these things on my lap tonight. And meanwhile, earlier today, which he didn't know, Nick sent me an email to let me know that he sent my proposal out to several agents to consider over the next couple of weeks. And I'll tell you, even though I didn't remember writing all of these things that I just mentioned to you or remember how long ago they were, I guess I should say, I was nearly in tears when I read that email from him because it's such an old dream of mine. And listen, this is an email. Let's be clear. This is an email just saying, I sent your proposal out to these people and they seem excited about reading it. That's the context of what he said. I'm sending your proposal out to these people. I spoke to them. They seem excited about reading it. We'll see in a couple of weeks. And I will let you all know. You're going to be on this journey with me. So I'll let you know how it goes in a couple of weeks, what the feedback is. But he told me that today in an email, and I was so moved. I was shaking when I read it, almost in tears. Of course, I told my mother about it once I saw her later on in the day, but so excited about it because that part of me knows how much time I've invested into dreaming about being an author of a book. I've written tons of, I don't even know how many stories. I have to figure that out one day. Written magazine covers, written gobs of online content, videos, and all of these things that are fantastic and a part of my journey. But writing a book has been a dream since I knew how to dream. It's always been something for me. So to get to that stage today, to have someone I cried when he first told me he would be my agent. He doesn't know that. Be my agent and accept my book. Me and my mother cried, right? Cried at that. And then to get to the point where I did a proposal, he gave me great feedback on how to revise it. I sent it, he loved it, and now it's out in the world. Can you believe that? Out in the world. This is 2017. I just shared with you things that I've written since 1994. Like I said, there's things from my childhood, but things that I've been really wanting to get out into the world. That's what I should say. Things from your childhood you're doing for yourself or your mom and that kind of thing. But since 94, at least, there might be some earlier things, but 94 with those songs, 2002 with that first book proposal, so 15 years ago, and then the manuscript for the novel in 2009. So I've been at this since 1994, basically, as far as getting my work out there in some kind of way. I haven't been consistently trying it, of course, but think about how much time that is, right? 1994 to today. And for specifically a book proposal, 2002. 15 years. And I'm saying that not to say that it'll take you that long with whatever you're doing, but what I am saying is all in divine time. So during that moment when I was looking through the things that my dad had given to me tonight and looking through the photo album of me as a kid being silly, as always, being silly and just flashing back in a moment when I didn't think I was going to be flashing back. I'm watching the news and looking at the craziness in the world today. And now I was getting wrapped up in this world of everything that I had written and experienced. They were almost like diary entries, everything I had written and experienced. And it's funny to read my voice back when I was 30 versus my voice now that I'm not 30, reading that and seeing the kind of things that I was into and what was important to me and what I, again, wanted to put out into the world, to know that it's possible. All that was to say it's possible. So whatever you are dreaming, whatever you are doing at this moment, hopefully it won't be 15 years. It might be next year, but it'll be in divine timing. We always want things on our own time. I know I do. I can be impatient, especially with myself. I can be eternally patient with other people for the most part. I can be patient with everyone else. I can push everyone else forward. I can support everything else. That's the thing with a lot of us. We can support everyone else, but when it comes to supporting ourselves, it might be a little bit more difficult for whatever reason. So for me, I can be patient with everyone else and not really patient with myself, but to see that I did not give up on this, that this is a dream that has been just a part of me for so many years, and then to have today be the day that my agent, Nick, reaches out to me and tells me your proposal is out in the world. People are looking at it and considering it, and have tonight be the night that my dad plops down these things on my lap and says, do you want this stuff, kind of thing. And to read these things from, look at that span of time. Who would have been able to say, this will be the day that this happens. Keep going, keep going. I didn't have anyone there to tell me to keep going, not consistently. I just kept dreaming. That's the thing. You might not have anyone there to tell you to keep going, but you have to keep dreaming. Keep dreaming that whatever it is that you want to do is possible. I don't know how it's all going to turn out. As I said, you're going on this journey with me, so I will let you know how it all turns out. Hopefully, I will see you at the book launch party. We're going to put that out there, right? The book launch party, that's where we're all going to get together and celebrate. But again, keep dreaming. Might not have people there to tell you to keep going. You might go through a tough time. That's why I started off earlier talking about transitions. And this year has just been different for me, right? This year has been different. It's been amazing because of the podcast, because of all of you. The podcast, honestly, has been the thing that has kept me going and charged and excited about what I'm creating. I know that it is just the beginning of what's possible with Support is Sexy. Next year, I want to start doing events and meetups all around the world. Just so many things in store that I'll share with you as time goes on. But I'm really excited about continuing to grow it and being dedicated to it 5 days a week, making sure that I show up no matter how I'm feeling, unless I'm terribly ill, which thank God that hasn't happened, but maybe 1 or 2 times, but really making sure that I show up and be there for you and for myself, because I am committed to this. It's a new dream and I'm so excited about it. And I'll be so excited to look back on this or listen back on this 15 years from now and see where we are. But the whole thing is, no matter what you're going through, no matter how tough the transitions, no matter how much you feel like you've been rejected or things not working, as I mentioned, all these things that I mentioned to you that I wrote, all of those things were rejected in one way or another. Even the songs, I did show them to actually a Grammy award-winning songwriter he is now, and he didn't like any of them. I didn't remember until today that there were 53. I can't imagine none of them were good, but maybe they weren't. But I wrote them and I put them out there. The same with that proposal. I wrote it, I put it out there. The same with that manuscript. I wrote it, I put it out there. Whatever happens, happens, but it will happen in divine time. I don't care what you believe, it will happen in divine time. So all this is to encourage you to keep dreaming and keep going, whether you're writing, you're producing something, whatever your dream is, no matter how ridiculous or impossible your dream is. As Nelson Mandela says, it's always impossible until it's done, right? It's always impossible until it's done. So keep dreaming and keep going. You never know when those moments of just inspiration and truly grace are going to come your way. I don't think it's coincidence that today was a day I got the email that the proposal is going out there. And tonight was a night that my dad decided to drop those books on my lap of, hey, here's all your work from the past 20 something years. Not a coincidence, all in divine timing to inspire me and hopefully to inspire you. Keep going, keep dreaming, stay focused, and do the work. All of those things took a lot of time. Do the work, no matter how difficult it is. And if it is difficult, get support. There's support out there, support that I certainly didn't have in the same kind of way in 1994 and even 2002. We have so many ways of connecting with people who can support us via online media, via Facebook or social media, I should say. All these ways that we can get in touch with people to help us, to support us. You do not, what do we always say? Say it with me at this point. Having it all doesn't mean doing it all alone. So you don't have to try to figure everything out on your own. There are ways to get in touch with people and get help. You know, you can always get in touch with me, and I can even help you find some people to help you if it's not something that I can do. But don't suffer through it alone. You have dreams that you want to get out there. It would be selfish, actually, for you not to get support with it. Why try to lift it all yourself when there could be someone that can make it faster, maybe less than 15 years, make it faster for you, make it smarter or more efficient for you, make you be more productive? You never know how the right people will be able to show up to help you. But to do that, you got to get out there. You have to put your work out there. That's another thing. You have to put your work out there. Maybe there are some people who have the story of, I just wrote this book. I sent it to this person and they loved it. They became my agent. They picked me up. And then I wrote a New York Times bestseller. I'm saying a book, but who knows, any kind of thing. I'm a model. I did my first photo shoot. An agent saw it. They loved me. They put me in Vogue magazine. Now I'm a runway model. There are maybe some stories like that. I'm sure there are some stories like that. Those are the exception, not the rule, right? Those are the exception. It happens. It's possible. And every time you go out there like it's a possibility, because that's what you have to believe in, the possibilities, but do the work. Be okay with being the rule, but it still will be your unique story, your unique journey. I'm not the exception. I'm the rule. I'm not the person, as you can see from what I outlined, that put something out and that first time everybody loved it and it was a hit. That's not going to be my journey, but I will keep going And part of my journey will be that I'm going to get a book published and it's going to be successful, and success looks different to everybody. I know what it looks like to me. Honestly, to me, it looks like getting it on the shelves. And I'm still old school, so I say on the shelves. I know it's all online now. Back when I first wrote those proposals, it was all about being on the shelves. So I still want to see that in a bookstore. That is my dream. That is my success. Everything else is gravy. And I'll take all that other good stuff that's going to come along. That's all gravy, but I know what my dream has always been, and I'm not letting go of that. So I want you to hold on to your dream, to keep going. Maybe you won't have, or maybe you will have someone 15 years from now, 5 years from now, a few months from now. Remember this? Maybe it'll be on social media, but whatever it is, remember this moment or this time or when you created this thing, and who knew that you would be at this point now. And just the fact that you moved forward, and it doesn't have to be that where you were then in your new life or your new thing or where you are now is completely successful, right? You don't have to be fully there, but I'm just saying your evolution, be happy about your evolution and know that everything will happen in divine time. Even during the hard times, even during the tough transitions, even doing the adjustments, even when you think this is not working or how can I figure out a way to make this work, all in divine time. It'll all shake out. Pray for patience. Have patience, but be persistent. That's something I had to learn and am still learning. Be patient, but be persistent. Continue to do the work. Show up, do the work. It will all work out in divine time. All right. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Actually, I'm going to take a second. Another podcast I listened to today, The Model Health Show with Sean Stevenson. If you haven't heard that show, it's fantastic. Listen to that. But Sean had Lewis Howes on, who's another podcaster I love. The School of Greatness is his show. And they talked about the importance of acknowledging people. And that's something that Lewis does on his show at the end of every episode, acknowledges the person for whatever they're doing in the world. I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you for being here and listening to my ramblings, but showing up for the Support is Sexy podcast, being supportive of me, reaching out to me on social media, letting me know the guests who drop gems for you, letting me know the episodes that resonated with you, letting me know what you're going through. A lot of you share your personal journeys with me via email, which I love to read and respond and support in any way that I can. A lot of you are in our Support is Sexy mastermind group, and you tell me, and all of us as hundreds of women in that group, tell us what's going on in your life and what you're creating and what you need help with, which is what my vision was. It's all about getting you to be open about what you need support with. And the great thing about that group is that we all show up for each other. Whatever you got going on, there's somebody in there who can figure out if they can't help you, someone else can. And I say all that to say, I appreciate that all of you show up for me and show up for other women who are part of the Support is Sexy community or other women in general. It means so much. You don't even know. It means bigger than even just us, right? Outside of the community, the Support is Sexy community, out in the world, women supporting women will change the world. Women supporting women will change the world. So it is imperative that we show up for each other and support each other, understand each other, don't judge each other. And I feel like all of you do that for me. You show up, you support, acknowledge me, don't judge me, or maybe you do, and that's okay. You can have a little bit of judgment, but it's all right because you're still here. So that means you still rock with me. And that is something that I appreciate. I do not take for granted. I don't want to get too misty talking about it, but I did want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you. One of the things that they mentioned on Sean's podcast today was acknowledge 3 people. Well, I'm going to acknowledge thousands of you. Thank you for being here. I acknowledge you. I see you. I appreciate you. I support you. I know you're creating something sexy in the world. I know you're up to something big, big for you, big for your family, big for your community. I know you're going to be exceptional at whatever you do. We talked about being the rule and the exceptions, but you are an exceptional person. You're an exceptional person. You're unique. You have your own ideas. You're out there. You're creating something sexy. You're doing the work. Keep going. Keep dreaming. Everything will happen in divine timing. And I'm glad the divine has brought us together so we can share this journey together. So I acknowledge you. I appreciate you. And it would not be the same without you. All right. So before I start crying, I just want to tell you one more thing. You know what to do. Go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.